On 28th Street and Paloma in southeast Los Angeles are the 28th Street Apartments. This building was originally a YMCA designed by Paul Revere Williams. He was the first African-American member of the American Institute of Architects. The YMCA served the African-American community, and it was an important place for political meetings and social gatherings. The historic building underwent a renovation project in 2012, reopening as the 28th Street Apartments. The apartments now serve low-income adults and formerly homeless youth transitioning to independent living. I'm Olivia Smith, and we're visiting the building to learn about its history and to take a tour.
It was like a haven that nobody else could control. This was a pool that you didn't have to wait for the one day you could swim in it before they cleaned the pool.
I've been here since 2013, so it's pretty quiet for the most part.
They broke down so much they got on their hands and knees and started crying because they now have a place to call their own.
We're here with Ken Bernstein. He's with LA City Planning. He is the principal city planner with the Office of Historic Resources, and he's the author of Preserving Los Angeles. Ken, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Tell us about this building. It's beautiful, it's big, it takes up a quarter of the block.
We're on 28th Street, just about a block from Central Avenue. We had segregated swimming pools in Los Angeles at the time that this was built. So this was a very important resource to have a swimming pool, a gymnasium, dormitories, where that type of community service could be provided.
Well, you have to remember that African Americans could only live in one area. You know, they could not live on the west side or something till restrictive covenants were lifted in 1948. So, you know, we're talking in the 20s, everybody lived in the same neighborhood.
Before we go inside, I want to talk about the architecture. Paul Revere Williams, he built this building.
Yeah, he was the designer, and he was the first African American to be admitted into the American Institute of Architects west of the Mississippi, so a pioneering architect for the city.
Paul Williams was born in Los Angeles, and he had grown up going to the 9th Street Y. So he felt it was very important to have something in the African American community. And the fact that he put Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington in the facade of the building was totally by design, totally inspired by the fact that he wanted to inspire young people. So when young boys came through those doors every single afternoon after school, they saw excellence.
Okay, let's head in for the tour.
Fantastic. So here we are in the space that was the historic swimming pool.
I am standing on top of the pool, and you could see here, this is actually the outline of the pool, right? This gray cement.
Exactly.
And it goes all the way around in one giant rectangle across the room, and over there, it continues into the offices.
This space really shows how you blend old and new and have that reference to history. So by leaving this outline of the tile work of the swimming pool, you can still understand its historic use. And actually, even though you have new concrete filling in the space to create a community room, this work is ultimately reversible, at least theoretically. If we wanted to take this back to be a swimming pool and a YMCA or another type of community recreation facility in the future, you could remove that concrete, and this tile work, the rest of the tile work, is intact underneath.
We're here with Christian Ahumada, the Executive Director of Clifford Beers Housing. Christian, how does Clifford Beers Housing relate to the 28th Street YMCA?
Well, about 15 years ago, we decided to take a look at a building that was very dilapidated here in Los Angeles, and the building had a significant amount of historical use that we thought would merge well with what we do, which is essentially putting folks that are previously living on the streets into housing. And when a building has a historical designation, it makes it more complicated for a developer to turn it into something else. So
and you guys were able to do that.
We were able to do that.
Historical building, and you turned it now into something completely different.
Exactly. Back in the 50s, you know, folks would come from all over the country to stay here. So they had a place where they can call home when they came to Los Angeles. We tried to revive that spirit in redoing the building.
So who lives here now?
So this is a combination of special needs populations, transition age youth that's coming out of the foster care system, and affordable units for working class individuals. One of the things that we ran into, this is a challenge, was that back in the day, back in the 1950s, the rooms that were here were between 85 and 110 square feet. And that doesn't necessarily meet code today. So what we did was we took 3 of these to essentially create 1 unit. But when we did that, we ended up with a very small building. That was about 20, 25 units. And because there was a unit for unit housing obligation replacement that we had to do, we had to create a separate new wing in the back of the building to get to that original unit count.
Oh, so you added on.
We added on. So this building actually has a historical component that's pieced together through a bridge.
Ken is taking us right now to see what one of the housing units looks like. So take me back in time.
They were very small spaces with shared bathrooms. So it was a place where someone could come, have lodging, if they were local or if they were visiting the city, just a very kind of basic Spartan residential space with a shared bathroom on the floor.
And that was part of the YMCA. And then in 2012, when it turned into the 28th Street Apartments, it actually became more permanent housing.
Yeah, Clifford Beer's housing, joining forces with another nonprofit, CRCD, really adapted these into the needs of residents today to have a stable source of affordable housing for the community.
We're with Melanie Hawkins. She's the property manager here. Melanie, thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you.
So you had started living in a housing unit like this, and now you're the property manager of them.
Yes, ma'am.
So if anyone could speak to how important housing is, it's you. What does housing like this mean for the community?
You know, it means a lot. When you get housed finally to get permanent housing, you know, it's a big deal. And when we move people in, I oftentimes say not only congratulations to the tenant as they move in, and I say welcome home to them.
I've been here since 2013. It's peaceful. I mean, I don't bother nobody, don't nobody bother me. I come, I go, I can hang out. It's pretty quiet.
Some get really emotional, some they yell, they scream, they cry, and once they get housed in permanent housing, they can now focus on moving to bettering themselves.
Did you know about all of the history of this building before you started working here?
No, I didn't. I found out actually after I started working here.
And what do you think about it?
It's awesome.
I think the adaptive use would make him very happy. He liked the fact that you could take something and make it work for the time you were living. And I think he would have been thrilled because it's still serving the community. And Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass are still there anytime anybody walks through the door.